Good afternoon, everybody. We will go ahead and get started. It is exactly 1 o'clock. Thank you so much for joining us today. I do believe we are recording, so we're going to go ahead and get started. Just a few reminders. We haven't done a reminder slide in a while, so always keep your camera off. That's going to save bandwidth and prevent your connectivity issues on your end. If you have any questions at any time during this presentation today, put them in the chat function. We have a few people. I know Alicia's on with us today from our office, and Michelle Bueller is on. There may be a few others. So I want to thank them for joining us today and being a support for this presentation. So any questions, hit us up in the chat. We'll do our best to keep track of those. If you did not register with a separate email address for each attendee, you will only be getting 1 clock hours email for those individuals. For example, if there are like 4 people at your center and you guys are all watching as a group and only one of you was registered for today, you will only be receiving 1 clock hours certificate for the individual who registered. Everyone who registers has their own separate link to join today's presentation, and that's how clock hours certificates will be sending out. So please remember to do that for future trainings. If you don't list your email address correct at registration, you're not going to be receiving your clock hours email. Okay, it is imperative that you guys, when you're registering for these classes, to register with your accurate email address. And friendly reminder, you need to be present for at least 45 minutes of this 1-hour class today, or you will not be receiving the clock hours email, which serves as the certificate for Pathways training hours. And Zoom automatically adds up and tracks the total time that you're logged on. If you get kicked off for some reason, please rejoin us. Just come right back in. You won't have to wait for us to let you back in. You should automatically come back in, and that will not affect you receiving the clock hours email. And as usual, the recording of today's class, the handouts, and the PowerPoint in a PDF format will be available on our Louisiana Fit Kids website, and the link is provided to you there. It might take a few days for us to get that uploaded to there. But again, this entire handout, this entire presentation, and all the handouts, and when you download the copy of that, all the links that are in the presentation today will be active, so you can just click on links. So, as usual, we begin with our non-discrimination statement. In accordance with federal civil rights law and USDA civil rights regulations and policies, this institution is prohibited from discriminating on the basis of race, color, national origin, sex, including gender identity and sexual orientation, disability, age, or reprisal or retaliation for prior civil rights activity. We are an equal opportunity provider. So welcome to our training today. This is our Child and Adult Care Food Program Concepts and Financial Risk. In preparing for today's presentation, we were going to go over a lot about financial and the risk for financial risk for you guys in participating in this program. However, it's impossible to do so without reviewing the program concepts as well. So the goal for today's presentation is I kind of wanted to marry these two concepts together and put a program review together along with the financial risks that you could expose yourself to and what to do to eliminate those potential risks. We're going to begin with the requirements for CACFP for our single site centers. And no worries if you can't see this good enough. Again, you're going to be getting a copy of this presentation. So required records for single site centers. your daily to-do list. You need to mark your children in attendance, okay? You need to click that attendance square in Kid Care, and you click on the fork and the knife to mark that those children received a meal. And at some point during the day, you enter the amounts of food that was prepared. Easy. What we're seeing is in some of our centers, as we're out and about doing reviews, that this daily to-do list is not exactly getting done daily. Okay. The risk with that is that if you're not doing it daily in Kid Care and you don't have the paper records to back that up, that are you accurately documenting and are you meeting the CACFP program requirements? And that is questionable. So we really want to have those tasks right there done every single day. And just for clarity and for complete disclosure, that we are looking, the state agency is looking at Kid Care and discussing with Kid Care a way to lock that down to where you guys have to do that daily. Okay. So this takes the place of your attendance sheets and takes the place of those old point of meal service sheets and the menu worksheets where you had to write down how much food and how much milk was served. So this daily to-do list is critically important. Your weekly and monthly to-do list, this is where you're going to enroll any new children. You're going to either make your new menus or you're going to copy and paste your new menus forward. You're going to enter any receipts, okay? And you're going to start building your milk audit. You're going to put how much milk that you have purchased on those receipts. You're going to calculate your claims. You're going to check your claim error report. And I wanted just to remind you guys that you can start a claim and you can hit recalculate in Kid Care as many times as you need to. And that will give you, if you would like a mid-month projection of how much reimbursement that you will be receiving from us, you can click recalculate or calculate your claim anytime during that month, and it will give you those estimates. It'll give you those numbers. And you can check your claim error reports. Okay. There's something very, very, very good to do. Before you get short on milk, you can, by checking your milk audit more frequently, you can make sure that you're not going short on any type of milk to where you can get your full reimbursement. Yearly, I'm not going to go over each of these individually. You guys are going to have copies of these. And this is a yearly to-do list. And we're going to go over a lot more of these in further detail on some of our other slides. For you multi-site sponsors, for you guys that have more than one facility, we are not leaving you out. We also have a required records and actions for multi-site Kid Care users. Again, it's broken down into what do you do at the individual sites and when you do that. Again, on a daily, each one of your sites should be marking children in attendance and marking the meals that are served and entering the amount of foods that each individual site is preparing. Let's get started on policy and procedures. Okay. Policies and procedures are a required element of participation in the Child and Adult Care Food Program. So what do I mean when I say policy and procedures? This includes your written compensation plan, which needs to, at a minimum, list the hours of pay, the compensation, just general compensation guidelines for your employees. Okay. It needs to include an outside employment policy. This addresses employment outside of the agency when it may interfere with regular responsibilities. A non-discrimination policy. The most updated non-discrimination policy has to be posted in a public place at each one of your facilities, has to be listed in your parent handbook, and it also has to be listed in your employee handbook. And then last but certainly not least will be employee policies and procedures. And that is our CACFP critical program functions. Okay, that lists, and this just needs to be in your employee handbook. This lists each function of running a CACFP program and who is responsible for what. Now, the good news about about these 4 requirements, they are all on our website. And here is the link right here. Let me get the spotlight. This link right here, it will take you to our website, the CMP website, the Child and Adult Care Food Program. And you click on resources, and all of these policies are right there for you. Okay. You can use yours or you may use ours, and just put your name on them, and you have met these 4 policy and procedure requirements. So it's right there for you. So if you don't have any one of these policies in place in their entirety, what is your risk of being declared seriously deficient from a review that we come out and do? So if you don't have any one of those 4 or any one of or those 4, your risk for being declared seriously deficient is pretty high. Okay. So that's why this training today, we wanted to remind you all of that. We are out and about doing reviews. So I just wanted to review, where do you get these things and what is available to you. Let's go over training and monitoring. Employee training is completed twice a year as documented by your agreement. Okay. And monitoring is completed in-house by you 3 times a year, again, according to your agreement. Now, those agreements we just did, they were effective October. Those are your annual, your sponsor, your facility, and your budget agreements that you fill out with us on the computer. So you tell us what 2 months out of the year you're going to complete training, and you tell us what 3 months out of the year you're going to do your monitorings. Okay, these are paper forms. So you will keep those in a folder for us, and you will have them available when we come out to do a TA or to do a review. And here's the website right here. Here's our website. Click on CACFP, click on resources, click on forms, and here is the monitoring review form right here for CACFP. Child care and adult daycare centers. If you're an at-risk site, we have them broken out for at-risk, for emergency homeless shelters. And here's our training requirements and the training form right below that. So again, we provide these forms to you. And you just these are documentations that you have completed your monitorings 3 times a year, and 2 of them are unannounced. So these monitorings, this is how you check yourself. Okay. This is how you check what people are doing. Okay. And it's about 5 pages long for the monitorings. And this is a very important self-check. Where you check the amounts of milk that they're pouring, you check the serving sizes of the foods that they're serving, and you check to make sure that you have your training and monitoring and you have your policies and procedures in place. So it just kind of helps you do a little self-check on your program to make sure that the program is the best possible program that it can be. So, what's your risk of a serious deficiency if you have not done your trainings or if you have not done your monitorings as stated in your permanent agreements? Again, you are accepting a high risk of being declared seriously deficient if you have not completed your training and your monitorings and you have that documentation ready for us when we get to your facilities. Ms. Smothers, yes, I see your question. I am looking back and forth at the chat. Of course, the recording and the slides are going to be shared. They're going to be on the Fit Kids website, so no worries with that. Just please enjoy the training today. And if you need to take any notes, of course, do that. But again, you all will be receiving this presentation, the slide deck in its entirety. So moving on. Now we're getting into things that really affect program quality and the amount of reimbursement that you receive each month. The first one of these is your free and reduced price meal applications. This form is again found on our website under CACFP, under resources, meal eligibility and forms, and it is right here. Now, I know, heads up, we're going to have a little pop quiz today. I want you guys to look over this form and tell me what you're noticing. And type it into the chat. Start looking over that form. Oh, Miss Ashley. Oh, you are the first one. The wrong dates. Okay. Unfortunately, I was at a center last week, and I'm not even sure how they got these forms because these forms have dates on them. This form is effective from October 1st, 2023 to September 30th of 2024. So I purposely left last year's forms on here. The center that I was at last week, it was a multi-site center. Two of their facilities had forms that were dated 2019 and 2020. And I applaud them. They did not want to, they tried hard. They didn't want to run out of the forms. So they kept this master file of forms hidden from everybody else because they didn't want to run out of forms, and they just kept copying the same form over and over and over again. They had a master copy of original forms. So they were still using, and they were pulling 2019 to 2020 forms and using them for children that were newly enrolling in their centers. So when that happens, that affects their reimbursement because they're on expired forms. All of those children that were being paid at the free rate automatically got bumped up to the paid rate. So that was a significant and substantial amount of money that ended up being as a loss because they were using old forms. Okay, so be sure, go on our website, make sure that you're getting the most current form, and we take those down every year. When the new ones come out, you can't print the old ones from our site anymore. So you need to be making sure for new enrollees in your centers that you're using the correct forms. okay, and the most updated forms. So again, free and reduced price meal applications. This is the standards of eligibility. This is how this form right here is, you guys know this. This is how you calculate and determine which children are free, reduced, or above. Just be aware that these forms also have effective dates on them. So this is from 23 again to 24. And you're going to want to use these forms and make sure that they're correct. Okay. E-forms. Now, when you initially enroll children, you're going to be using a paper form. For renewal applications, we do encourage everybody to use e-forms through KidCare. And both of these links right here, this is how you get trained on e-forms, your single sites or your multi-site sponsors. You can click on these links right here and go to the individual training pages and learn how to use e-forms. It is a lot quicker, it's a lot more confidential, and it is a lot accurate and easier to keep track of. Snap cards. When we're out in the field, we see all types of numbers for these snap cards. Look for a 9-digit number. Some of them will begin with 2 zeros, but your more recent ones probably don't begin with the 2 zeros, but they're still 9 digits. If it's not listed on the card, okay, and that CID number on some of the older cards is listed right here, right below the individual's name, this is where the CID number would be. If it's not on some of the newer cards, it's on their paperwork that they got with the card. Okay. So I don't believe we have any more pandemic EBT cards out there. However, if someone tries to give you a card or present you a card with the first 2 numbers that begin with 99, these are for the pandemic EBT cards, and those probably still aren't in place. Okay, they're not active. And you would need them to fill out their income on those forms. Okay. And one last thing, these card numbers, these 16-digit card numbers right here. Okay. We have a lot, there's just unscrupulous people out there. This 16-digit card number should never be listed on any of our program paperwork. Okay. It is too easy for somebody to steal all of their benefits. Please don't let them list this card, basically this credit card number. That should be kept confidential. The only thing we want is that 9-digit CID number, which is a lot more secure than the 16-digit, basically credit card number. So again, real quick, and I know we've gone over this and in the past couple of trainings. So the free and reduced price meal applications, make sure that you're using the most current year. Okay. These forms are also good from the dates that it has been signed. Okay. As long as that form is current within that year. Okay. So these forms came out in October 1 of 2024. So they're good for from 2024 to September 30th of 2025. So if you enroll children this week in April, then these forms would expire. Today's April 30th. Okay, the form would be effective, would be good for April 30th of 2025 to April 29th of 2026. Does that make sense? Thank you for dropping that link, Michelle. Okay, real quick, complete the legal name, age, date of birth, CID number, and if they're receiving FITAP or FDPIR, that's where you would list that. Their CID number goes in this blank right here. FITAP and FDPIR is not something that we routinely see. In fact, I can't even remember the last time that I did see that. And this third blank right here, SSI and Medicaid number for adult daycares only. Okay, so please don't let your parents list the Medicaid numbers here if the children are receiving Medicaid, because this is for adult daycares only. Next part, their household income. Okay, they're going to list everyone in the household and they're going to list their income. Part 3, a lot of times we see that centers have already pre-typed information in this form right here. They've checked off Monday through Friday. They'll put their hours of operation and they'll fill all this out for the parent, trying to be helpful. But please don't do that, because this section, this form is the parent giving you as the center permission to enroll the child and to claim that their child. So they are the ones that need to put the little check marks here and tell you when the child will be attending and for what meals that they expect the child to receive this reimbursement for. Okay, so you're receiving reimbursement on behalf of their children, so they need to be the ones to fill this out. So an adult on part 4, an adult in the household needs to complete this part, and they need to have the last 4 digits of the Social Security number or mark that they do not have a Social Security number. That's one of the requirements. Part 5 is optional. If they're not comfortable listing ethnicity and racial categories, that is not required. They can decline to do that. And then for official use only, you guys are the officials. So you're going to, once you get these forms back from your parents, you are going to fill this out. You're going to calculate their income. You're going to determine their free, reduced, or above category. And you're going to sign and date it. And then this form becomes effective for 364 days after the date of that signature on the form right there. What about a foster child? Okay, so foster children, you enter the child's legal name, age, date of birth, and then you're just going to put a check yes right here if they're a true foster child. They can skip section 2. Okay, again, the foster parent is going to complete section 3, giving you permission to claim their child and to receive reimbursement on that child's behalf. You can skip part 2, and they would continue filling out the form just like I have, just like I explained on the other form. So, helpful next time. Make sure that the economic categories on the forms are correctly input into KidCare. Okay? One of our most cited technical assistance points or seriously deficient notations that we make is for incorrect economic categories. Okay? I would venture to say 99% of the time, we actually find more money for you guys because of errors or just simple typos when transferring these economic categories into KidCare. So if the child's free, make sure that there is truly an F in that category. Make sure that you are clicking the correct category, and everything is correct. Also, make sure that for every child you have entered into KidCare, you have either a paper free and reduced price meal application or an e-form, because we will check that one for one. And we'll make sure that everything is correct. We'll make sure that if you have 99 children enrolled in your center, that we have 99 free and reduced price meal applications, and that they are correct. So what would you think the risk of financial loss would be for this section? Okay. So this is an extreme risk category. If you don't have the correct listings in kid care, the economic categories in kid care, when you submit your claim to us, you're not being paid correctly. And again, the majority of the time, you're losing money. If you don't have, or if you're missing free and reduced price meal applications, when we're with you and you've been claiming those children as free, you're at extreme risk of having to repay money, based on lack of forms. And unfortunately, it does happen. So that's why we're training today. I want you guys to check and make sure that that you have all this, so nobody has to repay any money, and you can get the maximum amount of reimbursement possible. An additional helpful hint: make sure that you have a date listed in kid care for the IEF expiration date. Okay. And I believe with any new children that you guys enroll, it doesn't let you go on until you do have an IEF expiration date listed. But the children that you have already in kid care, it will actually let you bypass and not have a date there. So this screen should look real familiar to you guys. This is the kid care screen. I screenshotted that. We have a 7-month-old infant. You're going to enter their date of birth, their original enrollment date, okay, their current enrollment date, which happens to be the same one, and their enrollment expiration date. Remember that the free and reduced price meal application serves two functions. It serves for the enrollment form, and it also serves as to determine economic status. So you'll come down here to the bottom, and these are all clickable. When you click on CACFP, and your approved meals would more than likely be breakfast, lunch, and PM snack. Okay, first click on, don't forget your edit button. I almost forgot that. You're going to state that the child does participate. You're going to click on breakfast, lunch, and PM snack. You're going to choose the reimbursement level. Okay, the accurate reimbursement level. So this is where we want to make sure that all of our categories are correct as per what is listed on the free and reduced price meal applications. Choose the FRP basis. Is it a foster child? Is it based on income? Okay. There's a drop down right here. You click and it's going to give you a list of how that this category was determined. So this is your FRP basis foster child in this situation. This right here, your IEF expiration, this is blank. Okay. There's going to be a drop down right here with a big calendar. You must have an IEF expiration date listed for every single child at your center. Okay. Otherwise, it's now going to give you an error. Okay. And the system, Kid Care automatically protects you, because if you don't have an IEF expiration date right here, it will, no matter what you put right here, it will automatically calculate that child is paid and you are losing reimbursement. Okay. So again, go back into your systems, make sure that your IEF expiration date is listed right here. And more often than not, it's going to be the same as your enrollment expiration date. Okay. So your enrollment expiration date up here and your IEF expiration date, those are probably going to be the same. No worries. They should be the same because it's the same form. Okay. So make sure that you have an IEF expiration date listed. And then when you need to save, go back and hit the save button. Okay. Pop quiz number 2. Let's see how you guys are paying attention. I know it's 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm sure everybody's at nap time. You guys, it's quiet at your centers. You're listening to the sweet music. I always have a little bit of a trouble when I'm in a center and it's nap time because I always want to take a nap as well. It generally ends up putting me to sleep, but I want to see you guys. What else? Is there anything else on this screen that needs to be updated, corrected? Is there anything else that you're seeing? Hit me up in the chat. I want to make sure you guys are awake and still with me. Miss Betty Francis, I wish I had some like little door prizes or something to give to you all. You guys are on point. Yes, Brianna, no schedule. Miss Ashley, there's no schedule. Okay. So if you continue on and you don't have this schedule filled out right here, it's going to give you an error when you go to claim the child, and it's going to tell you that you're trying to claim a child on days of the week that the child is not enrolled. Okay. And it's either going to warn or disallow. So click on this edit button right here. You are going to want to put the schedule that the child attends the daycare. And more often than not, 99% of the time, it's going to be Monday through Friday from your open hours to your close hours. Okay. And it's easier to put your opening and then your closing hours, just to make sure if the child or mom or dad or the guardian has something to do later. They might tell you that the child is only going to be there from noon to 4 p.m. However, we know life happens. And the child might be there for breakfast one day. So you want to be able to claim that child for breakfast. So you can go ahead and put your opening and closing hours right here. So make sure your days of the week and your scheduled hours are input for the children, and then hit the save button. Okay. So you guys are on the ball. Hi, Michelle. Okay. So we had a question from Leslie Christopher. If we have an FC, a foster child, I'm thinking that means foster child. So if we have a foster child that has gone through the adoption mid-year, do we do a new form? No, Leslie, that is a great question. With these free and reduced price meal applications, you can keep that child at the free category until it's time to do a new form on that child. Okay. So let's say, for instance, that, and this is a good example. So, but let's say, for an example, that you have a child or multiple siblings. You have 3 children in one family, and they all attend your daycare. And mama or daddy, unfortunately, gets laid off and loses their job. Okay. And the parent notifies you of that. Then that's the time to redo their free and reduced price meal application to update it for their current financial status. Okay. And it very well could take that child from being paid to reduced or free. When it works out in your favor, you may do all you do is you update that free and reduced price meal application either in e-forms or on paper. Okay. It will be dated from the time of the event, and from the time of that event forward, let's say in May, the father loses or the mother loses the job in May. From May going forward for a year, that child can be claimed at the lesser basis of whatever they qualify for. Same thing if when you have a mom that's pregnant, so there's going to be another person added to that household. Redo your free and reduced price meal applications because it could qualify them for a lesser category where you would get increased reimbursement. If, for instance, a family wins the lottery, which would be a blessing for most families, I bet, you do not have to redo that free and reduced price meal application until it is expired. Okay, so if it works out in your benefit, You absolutely, you redo another free and reduced price meal application, and you would update their claiming status. Ashley, I see your question. Will the IF expiration be the same date as the enrollment date or the enrollment expiration? It's going to be the enrollment expiration. Okay. So the enrollment expiration date is going to be the same thing as the IEF expiration date because it is the same form. Any additional questions? Michelle, I'm trying to scroll down. Okay, I see another one from Ashley Cushenberry. Okay, I believe I just answered that one.
There's another one from Canada Mercer.
Okay, I see the one from Pamela for multi-site centers. If we are changing our hours of operation to include weekends for one of our centers, how do you make those changes? Pam, that is a very good question. You are going to, first thing that you're going to have to do is get with our office because you are going to have to talk to Karen and or Tammy because your main agreement with us, we're going to have to update your agreement. And we're going to need a new license with those days that you're open and the extended hours or extended days. We are going to need some documentation from you and to have some discussion with you about that. So I'm going to have you reach out to Karen Schneider or Tammy Bloyd in our office because before we can change anything in kid care or claim any additional days or meals, we're going to have to change your permanent agreement with us. Does that make sense? Outstanding question. Okay. Moving on, meal pattern requirements and component requirements. Sponsors and institutions are required to meet USDA's component and portion size requirements to qualify for reimbursable meals. You have to serve one whole grain item a day. For breakfast, you have to serve 3 components. Okay. Now, something I'd like to clarify right here, you have to serve 3 components. You have to serve the correct food components and the correct portion sizes. The children do not have to eat these, okay? But it has to be on their plates, put down in front of them. It has to be served to them. So breakfast is 3 components. Lunch and or supper, if you're approved to serve supper, has 5 components. That's going to be your milk, your bread grains, your meat alternates, fruit or vegetable. And snack, you choose any of the 4 components, okay? And 2 different components. You can't serve 2 bread grains. You're going to have to, you're going to have to choose 2 different components. You must meet the minimum serving size has to be served. You can serve more all day long, okay? But you have to serve at least the minimum serving size, and all components must be served at the same time, okay? Sometimes what we see in centers is the plates of food will go down, and then after they finish eating, that's when the milk is served. That is incorrect. Okay. Your plate and your milk, it all has to be put down in front of the child at the same time. And I get it because everybody says that, okay, well, when we're transitioning from a bottle, we're introducing solid foods, we want them to eat first before they drink everything. However, it could be viewed as restricting fluids. We know we're going into, the hot part of Louisiana, the summertime. And again, program requirements require that all components be served at the same time. Pasteurized 100% juice is limited to once a day for children over 1 year old, never for infants. So infants never get juice. Here's our meal patterns. I love this slide because I went ahead and pulled this slide and these graphics are from CACFP.org. That is the National CACFP Foundation. If you haven't been on their website, it is a wonderful website. These reproducibles and these handouts are wonderful. You can use these as teaching tools for any new employees. And one of the things that I encourage you guys to do is we're out at centers all the time. Bless y'all's hearts, because you guys have, a high staff turnover, a high cook turnover. And a lot of times, we feel bad that we have to be there, because the day that we're there, a lot of times y'all have call outs, and you seem to always be shorthanded. So please utilize these references, utilize this, you can utilize this entire presentation to train new employees and to train new cooks, and document on your, document that for a training for us. Repeat that about the juice. I can go back on a slide. Juice has to be 100% juice. It cannot be a juice drink. It cannot have any high fructose corn syrup. It cannot have any other sugars in it. It has to be pasteurized 100% juice, and that is limited to serve only once a day for children 1 year old and over. Okay, never, never, never any juice for infants. So again, using these meal patterns, I love to see this hung up in kitchens for your cooks. If your cook calls out and and a teacher has to sub in your kitchen, or you're subbing in the kitchen, you're going to want them to absolutely pour up the correct serving size of milk. You never want to be short on milk. You're going to want the correct serving sizes for each age group to be served. And this handout right here is it's brief. I mean, it states exactly the minimum serving sizes for each age group. It's very valuable to be taped up to a kitchen counter or the cupboard doors, to where it's easily referenced. So I'm going to touch real brief on infant meal pattern requirements, because our training today, it's about 1:47. So we are heading into the home stretch. So infant meal patterns, if a mom breastfeeds on site, yes, you absolutely claim that meal. You check that child received a meal, and you were reimbursed for 100% of the category that the economic category that child falls under. We're going to provide for 6 to 11-month-olds. We're going to provide more nutritious meals and snacks. Vegetables and fruits can be served at a snack. Again, juice, cheese foods, or cheese spreads are not creditable. Yogurt and whole eggs are allowable meat alternates if the child is not allergic to that. Grain can be served at a snack. And as a center, in order to claim your infants, you guys have to provide 2 of the 3 items that are served. Okay. Most of the time, you guys have a house formula. Okay. And if the parents choose not to use that house formula, you can still claim the infants. And the other item that we see routinely provided is like a rice cereal or oatmeal cereal, or the baby food, fruits or vegetables. So, and whether you claim your infants or not, be aware that you have to have a free and reduced price meal application for every child enrolled in your center, okay, whether you claim them or not, and this includes infants. So your infant formula has to be regulated by the FDA to be creditable for reimbursement. And a 4-week cycle menu for your infants is required, and we can show you how to do that very easily and get that into Kid Care. Here's your infant meal patterns, again, with the link to CACFP.org meal patterns that you can hang up in your infant classrooms. Milk. Milk is critically important. Okay. A lot of you guys know that if you're short on milk, you will not be receiving reimbursement for that month. Okay. So milk is part of a healthy eating pattern. Okay. Milk provides calcium. It provides fat that they need for the eye and for brain development. What you need to know is newborn through 11 months, breast milk or iron fortified formula are reimbursable. Breast milk is allowed at any age. Excuse me, between the ages of 12 and 13 months, iron fortified formula may be served to help with the transition to whole milk. So between the ages of 24 and 25 months, okay, unflavored whole milk or unflavored reduced fat 2% milk may be served during this 1 month transition period. And I want to be very, very, very clear. From 24 months to 25 months, okay? For this 30-day, 1 month period, if you can buy 2% milk to transition them from whole milk to 1% milk. But that is the only time during that 1 month period that you may purchase and serve 2% milk. Otherwise, 2% milk is not creditable. It is not allowed to be purchased. And if you're purchasing and serving 2% milk, you will not be receiving reimbursement for those meals. Or if you do receive reimbursement and we come out to audit, you will be expected to pay back your reimbursement that you did receive. Okay? Again, I want to be crystal clear about what this slide says right here. The transition between 24 and 25 months. Okay. So your 1-year-olds do get whole milk. So between 1 and 2, at 2 years of age, they need to be transitioned to a fat-free skim or a low-fat 1% milk. 2% milk, again, is only allowed for that 1 month period between 24 and 25 months. Okay. So many non-dairy beverages may only be served when there is a medical statement on file. So if you, and you guys, allergies, we do see a lot of allergies with this program. So you're going to need a doctor's note, which exempts you from serving a cow's milk or any type of milk that they're allergic to. And you have those on file, then you can serve an approved milk substitute to those children. Flavored milk is not allowed for children 5 years old and younger. Okay. Once they hit 6 years old and above, then technically they could use, that you could serve a flavored milk, but it has to be a flavored skim milk. And we currently, I don't think we have anybody doing that. Okay. So a lot of times your lactose-free organic milks or any type of milk substitute that their pediatrician would put them on due to an allergy with that proper documentation on hand at your facility, then that meal is creditable. Any questions on milk? Due to time, I am going to let you guys read this. This is about substituting milk in the CACFP and substituting milk. This is a great handout right here, again, from the National CACFP Foundation that has frequently asked questions. Okay. So you can review this and it goes over specific examples of what's creditable and how to handle allergies. Miss Deborah, I see your question, does lactose milk have to be 1%? It does not. And that statement is right here. Milk substitutes are not required to be low fat or fat free when served to participants 2 years and older. Okay. And again, that goes right along with this statement down here that medical statements are required. okay, to accommodate requests for any type of higher fat fluid milk for participants 2 years of age and older. Okay. So our guidelines, along with medical statements, I've been in several centers where, children were premature or they have extenuating medical circumstances where they definitely need a different type of milk. And with those medical statements, you can still claim those meals and claim those children. Grains, at least one serving of grains has to be whole grain rich. Your breakfast cereals can contain no more than 6 grams of sugar per dry ounce. Grain-based desserts are not creditable and they're not allowed on the program. That has been since October 1st of 2018. Unfortunately, we still see grain-based desserts trying to be served in our program, and those meals are not reimbursable. So that would be a financial risk where you would risk having to pay back money. Okay. So Melanie, I see your question. Great question. An example of a grain-based dessert. Grain-based desserts would be like, or a sweet grain-based desserts. So those are going to be like vanilla wafers. They're not creditable. Those are going to be like your Fig Newtons. Those are going to be like, okay, give it up. Those are going to be generally your higher sugar grains. Okay. You can serve savory crackers. You can serve, you're making me hungry, I know. You are going to serve, the only 2 grain-based desserts would be graham crackers and animal crackers, because technically those are still considered a cracker. Winding up our presentation, see and label. So you guys hang on there with me another 5 minutes. We want to make sure that you're including you're choosing the correct food items in kid care. This right here is a CN label. Okay. This right here is not. This is just your regular nutrition label. And this is for breaded dinosaur chicken nuggets. And this is the CN label that a combination item has to have. And it tells you how many you have to serve to meet the requirements. So if you guys, I hate to tell you this, but if you guys are buying from retail supermarkets, your Walmarts, your Sam's, your things like that, that items are available to retail sales, there is a high likelihood that they do not have the CN label on it. So your fish sticks, your prepared meatballs, your chicken nuggets, your chicken tenders, breaded, all in your lasagnas, all of these combination items, if they don't have a CN label, they're not reimbursable and they're not allowed to be purchased in our program. So make sure, and you can always, kids, they don't really need chicken nuggets. If you bake off chicken legs, or if you serve chicken wings or chicken drummies that are 100% chicken, I promise you they will eat that and really, really, really enjoy it. This is a really important slide. We have this in our pre-approval packet. Any of these foods do not count on our program. Now, we do recognize as a state agency that a lot of these are ingredients in recipes, okay? And we recognize that a lot of these things are served with other components, okay? Technically, we've got ketchup on here, we've got margarine, we've got mayonnaise, okay? What we know that if you're serving if you're serving baked French fries, of course, kids, of course, ketchup is going to go with that. Margarine to butter toast, some syrup for your French toast sticks. These are the items that, if it's an ingredient in a recipe, we do allow you to purchase those with CACFP program funds, okay? Because it's not really a component, it's an ingredient. So those are allowable, and these are the items that you would not, you're not going to, enter ketchup into kid care. So as long as it's an ingredient, salad dressing, things like that. Again, those are on the list right here. As long as, it's not, you're not counting it as a component, you're good to go, and you can use food program funds to purchase that. So Miss Melanie, here is our slide on grain-based desserts. I will let you guys review that. Now, for your food components in your milk, your risk of financial loss. Okay, are you getting my point here? Extreme. At this point in the presentation, if I could send like a little bitty electric shock and zap you all to realize the extreme risk of financial loss with making these mistakes, I would do so just to get that point across. Very much extreme. So helpful hints. Make sure you're choosing the right products in kid care. Okay. Don't choose a CN chicken nugget when you well know that your products don't have a CN label. Okay. If you have those products in your facilities, then, and you need to serve a bean as the protein for that day. Don't list the chicken nugget in kid care. Your bean would be your meat. Still serve a bread grain and the rest of the other components, and you can get those out of stock and you don't have to waste them. Okay. And then instead of serving spaghetti and meatballs, okay, which meatballs for your younger kids could very well be a choking hazard depending on the size of the meatball, and then your teachers have to cut them up. Again, do spaghetti and ground meat, do spaghetti and meat sauce. Promise you, they will lap it up. They're going to love it. Questions and how to contact us. It is 2:01, and technically we are done with today's presentation. This is how to contact us if there are any other questions that we have on our facility on this training today, or any other questions in general. I will be on for the next 5 or 10 minutes. Upcoming trainings. Hit me up before you leave today, before you exit out of your training. Hit me up in the chat. What do you guys want to hear more about? And I can work on those trainings for the future, just to make sure that we're staying up to date, and that we guys as a state agency, that we're meeting your educational needs. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording. And I will, unless there's any other questions, I will bid you guys farewell and enjoy the rest of your afternoon. Milk audit. Melanie, I think a few months ago, I did a training on milk audit. That is up on the Fit Kids website. So you can look at that. Resubmission of claims, Alyssa Allen. I believe Tanny and I did a training, and I can't remember when, on the resubmission of claims. That will also be on, that is either on the Fit Kids website or on the Kid Care training pages that you will have links to in this presentation. Not to say, we certainly can do more of those. However, I want to meet your needs immediately and give you those 2 resources to where you could look at those videos now. Anyone else? You're welcome. Thank you guys for joining me today. Have a great rest of your afternoon.